What's going on, everybody? It's Dan here, back into the moonshine talking. Hope everyone's having a good one. I'm doing all right. Can't really complain too much. Went to the doctor today. I've been having a nagging shoulder injury that I need to get looked at, and they told me while overall my shoulder is fine, I have a bone spur that's pressing on my AC joint, and it's causing some shoulder impingement. But I knew about that already. I've known about that for a couple decades now. Between all the high school athletics and intramural sports and then getting into pro wrestling and doing all the lifting and stuff that I do, I have some shoulder issues, probably due to poor technique over the years, working out above my pay grade, as it were, and just overall general wear and tear. I also do a lot of I do a lot of work shipping and receiving at my job, so I do a lot of lifting there. So it's just a never ending, probably just repetitive stress issue that I got going on. But they said I don't need surgery, which is good. Uh, was definitely not looking to do that. I've had probably, not to get too personal, but I've had in the past 3 years, I've had multiple procedures done, surgical and otherwise. I was trying to avoid making it three in a row. So I should say in the past 2 years, and I was trying not to make it three in a row. So they said that, we're going to work with a conservative approach, send me to PT for 6 weeks. Hopefully that'll do the job. They gave me a cortisone injection today, and then we'll go from there. And worst case scenario, I get an MRI, go check it out, and we'll come up with a plan of attack to get me on the mend and then get me back to doing all the things I like doing and need to do and try to do to keep myself sane. Other than that, it's kind of hell froze over today a little bit, meaning that it's in the 40s right now in Florida. So I'm as bundled up as I'm going to be. I'm originally from New York, if you're not aware. So I'm not repulsed by the cold. I actually enjoy it, but at the same time, I got nothing to prove to anybody. So I'll bundle up and wear stuff and try not to get sick. There's also a lot of that going around too. Got a lot of people calling out at my job saying that they're ill. So it's just that it's that time of year. It's winter, regardless of where you are in the country. And also, just kind of a not quite a lighter note, but anyone knows anyone in the LA area in California, everyone I'm sure is aware that there's fires raging out of control there. Send them your positive vibes, your thoughts, your prayers, whatever. Whatever you think might help create some positive flow of energy in the world and the universe, and go ahead and do that for those folks because we don't need to have some of our brothers and sisters out there in California looking out the window and seeing life become a replicant of their favorite album covers. So we'll try to hopefully they get that settled. I know people have already died and all that sort of thing, and you don't want to see more of it happen any more than it has to. So yeah, that's that. And then as far as why I'm here today, I was gonna do an album collection update, and then I started kind of going through it. And first of all, it took me a little too long. It was a little long in the tooth because I was combining a bunch of stuff that probably, at least the way I compartmentalize my videos, I figured I should split it up. But also, there was one particular that I wanted to talk about specifically, and I felt like it warranted a little bit more of time for me, and I wanted to take notes and actually kind of give it the proper respect that it deserved because it's a fantastic album. It's an older album that I'm sure a lot of people are a lot more familiar with than I was. The backstory is we have a local record shop here called Steelworker Records. It's a fantastic place. They sell a lot of underground stuff. Um, I've been going there recently. I just found it a couple months back, and it's a great shop. Lots of vinyl, lots of CDs, cassettes. Have some merchandise like shirts and some of their own merch and stuff like that. The guy Ken who runs it, he's an awesome dude, very knowledgeable. Used to have his own label. He's got connections with a lot of underground labels. Like he has a lot of Cozumel. He's a distributor of Cozumel Records. A couple others. He does a lot of work with Werewolf. gets a lot of that stuff in, and yeah, it's a great place, and he's super cool, very easygoing, personable guy, great to talk to. So I went in the first time, picked out a bunch of stuff, put a hurting on my bank account, and then I went back next time and saw a couple things. One of which I'll mention probably in the collection update because I want to also keep that one kind of separate, just kind of like a teaser or whatnot. But I was just there. I was looking around, thumbing through the racks and whatnot, and then he had a whole stack of stuff that he was about to put out, and he's like, "Hey, hey, check this out." And then he gave me a handful of stuff, and I was looking at it. I was like, "Oh, yeah, kind of cool, kind of cool." Ooh, I've heard a lot of people talking about this, so I said I'm gonna hang on to this. And when I picked up some stuff, listened to the album, and next time I went back there to pick some other stuff up, I was telling him, "Thank you. This thing is phenomenal." I said, "This was tremendous," and he was talking to me about it, and probably the two of us, it was funny because what we were saying is that the vocals on it are bonkers, and we never had any like pre-thought or pre-planned conversation or anything, but that's exactly the both of us came up with the exact same adjective to describe this album. So without too much further ado, the album I'm talking about is Dictius Te Necare. Hope I'm sure I butchered that, but I don't speak Latin. And it's by the band Bethlehem. They're a black metal band from Germany. This came out in 1996 on Red Stream Records. It's a four-piece. The guys in the band are uh, Rainier Landferman. He does the vocals. He does these crazy vocals I'm going to talk about. Uh, Klaus Matten, he plays guitar. Jurgen Barsch, he's the bass player, and Chris Steinhoff plays drums. This is this is just a great album. Uh, Again, I wasn't familiar with the band other than hearing people talk about them. So it was one of those things I figured, I'll pick it up. And I didn't know I didn't know how awesome this thing was. It's 7 tracks, 44 minutes long. I'm kind of gonna kind of break down as best I can and try to not bore you all to death in tears and take up too much of your time with this. But also, I'm not gonna try to butcher the German people's language by trying to pronounce all the song titles. I don't want to pull a Dewey Cox and ruin That's Amore for everybody. Uh, I'm I'm American, but I'm German by heritage a little bit, but I'm American, so I don't speak German. I'm trying to pick little bits and pieces up here and there, but at the same time, I want to show respect and not butcher the language. So I'm just going to describe these by the track numbers as opposed to trying to pronounce the titles and just make everybody sick to their stomach. So track one starts off with this just anguished scream, and it just it immediately catches your attention, and it it has these clean guitar breaks with the cool thing is they have these clean guitar breaks that are combined with these just pained vocals, and it creates this atmosphere. It's like this landscape, especially towards the end of the song. The They do a thing where not so much a vocal effect, but they have the vocals in the background and they're kind of echoing and reverbing almost like the whole time as the song is playing out. You get the impression that after uh, Rainier is having this manic schizo episode, I just kind of picture this whole thing like it's all set in an insane asylum. And this is kind of like the process of the person being there and kind of having episodes and the way that's kind of how it felt to me. So you get to a point towards the end where all the voices are in the background. It kind of is like the voices in the back of the head where, the person's has had their freak out, but now they're kind of calmed down or medicated or whatnot. And, but the voices are still going. So it's very cool. And then the second one, it kind of goes into almost a Candlemass type riff. It's very classic Doom oriented, very killer. And then it switches to these Death Doom chugs and that are just they're great. And there's a lead around the 320 mark, and it's it's just really, it's like kind of like a, sorry, I'm looking down because I took notes, but so hopefully you don't mind having to see the top of my head. Uh, but I have to read my notes. But it kind of has this, it's just a very mellow, doomy lead, and it goes right into this trem pick passage that has, and which goes right into this bass heavy riff. And it has these very pregnant pauses to where Rainier can, he just lets out these howls of agony, and then it goes back into the riff and then back into the howling screams, and just a very cool like pregnant pauses and start stop kind of feel to it that gives it a nice texture. It's got water playing throughout different parts of the song. I'm sure there's some symbolism that I'm not picking up on, or it could just be one of those things where it's somebody sitting in a, maybe just sitting in a bathtub. They're not in an insane asylum, and they're either contemplating doing something awful to themselves, or they have done something awful to themselves. Who the hell knows? I don't know. But I know the album itself is kind of it was dedicated to people who've offed themselves. I'm sure that'd get me in trouble with YouTube, but it is what it is. You know, I'm not gonna be saying it over and over again. So, but that was kind of like that was the, I guess, overarching theme of the album. Uh, but yeah, very good stuff. Track three starts off with a trem pick riff, very cool, and then it goes into this really tasty, chunky riff that's just combined with the crazed vocals is fantastic. And then it goes into this clean break, and you have these like sinister, almost like witch cackling vocals that are, they're just, they're unnerving and creepy. And then it goes into a new riff that has, you know, incorporates the tremolo picking and kind of does a whole start stop thing. And then it has these, it goes into this like hypnotic, almost seductive, clean guitar break, and you kind of feel like it's like the prelude to the madness that's about to start again. Like, you know, it's like, okay, we kind of got this under control, and then it's going to go completely nuts again. But it doesn't necessarily do that. It kind of, it just goes into like almost like a mellow death doom style dirgy lead, and then that's how the song, it kind of fades out into that. Stellar job, just phenomenal. And then track four, the vocals are really cool in it because the way they're recorded, and the way I guess they're mastered or engineered, however you would say it. It almost sounds like they got the lunatic contained in a solitary confinement, and he's like screaming from the room as the song is playing, as the music is playing. It's very groove heavy. It's a very groove heavy riff. Very more mellow deathy. A lot of this kind of like, it drifts between the worlds of like mellow death and doom. And if it weren't for the vocals being more of the black metal orientation, then I would say that that would be more or less what this is considered. But I know I looked it up, and it said like black and doom, which is a fair, that's a fair way to say it. But a lot of this stuff, you hear lots of like mellow death and like old school Swedish death metal sort of stuff like that. Even at times a little punky type stuff you can hear in there. But yeah, it's great. But yeah, in track four, it has this very heavy riff, and then there's a mellow mellow death riff in there that it kind of starts using like hammer-ons and pull-offs, and it doesn't quite get into like trills. It doesn't quite hit trill territory, but it's a very cool riff, very sick riff, and I enjoyed it. And then it leads right into this synth piece that closes it out, and it's another good one. Track five, again, more to me, at least my ears, Swedish mellow death, and it pretty much, it stays along with the riff on that one, but then it leads right into towards the end into this like horrifying piano arrangement that combined with the crazed vocals, with just the high pitched screams and the wails, and the like the off the like the vibrato that that Rainier gets on it, it's like nightmare fuel. But it's fantastic. I'm not saying that like it's a bad thing. Like there's probably stuff that would cause me worse, give me worse nightmares than listening to this. This was just, always superb. I don't know what else to say. And then probably track 6 is the most like traditional black metal oriented of the tracks on here. And then it settles into this clean break that it just creates this solemn, almost tragic atmosphere to the song. And again, a lot of this, I'll keep saying it over and over, but it's all really, a lot of it really hinges on the way everything is arranged around the vocals, because that's really kind of like the linchpin of this album is the vocals. And doing a little bit of research that I did, that's what a lot of people talk about is the vocals on the album. That's really what kind of separates it. But the music, the musicality, the arrangements, all that sort of stuff, it's all really well done. It's very well crafted, the way it's all set up to create different moods and atmosphere, and the tempo shifts and the time changes, and the way the drums and the bass, they create the backbeat, and sometimes on the different leads and stuff like that, where you get almost like this push pull effect between the bass and the guitars. Do a really good job. Off the top of my head, I should have made a better note of it, but one of the tracks is a really cool bass riff that's going on in the background. It's very cool, very just. It's back there, and you can kind of lock into it if you listen to it. I want to say it's track 2, but don't quote me on that. But very cool stuff, and just overall, that's kind of like a general theme that you get with the band. That's kind of like a general tactic or a style that gets incorporated into the songs and the song structure, is that push pull effect between the guitars and the bass in particular and the drums. And yeah, and then track 7, it's kind of again a very death doomy riff with you get it's a lot more aggressive and angry, almost like the kind of like the patient woke up and now he's pissed or what have you. But you get really thick, viscous, death doomy riffs, and you get them mixed in with some squeals. So it kind of gives that feel of a lot more tension and anger and aggression that's going on with the song. A lot more deeper. These ones, the vocals in are a little bit deeper and a little bit more growly, as opposed to just the real high, not that kind of stuff, but it's more that. I apologize, but um, yeah, and then it's probably towards the end of it. It has probably it's got the most atmospheric elements on the entire album, with the pianos and the synths and all that sort of stuff. There's lots of that throughout the album. You get a lot of like different synth pieces and piano arrangements and stuff like that, and it just gives it a different feel. Again, creates different time change, creates different atmospheres, and the tempo shifts and the various time changes and the way that it kind of like blends between death doom and black metal and almost kind of like experimental synth. I think that this is called. I think a lot of people refer to this as DSBM. I don't really listen to a lot of that stuff. I'm familiar with certain people who've talked about it, like that Wyatt X Him dude. He talks about it. He's got a video where he talks about it. Haven't really watched the whole thing, but I know there's bands like Leviathan and Migla and some other ones that I'm not really familiar with, but I'm aware of their existence, and I suppose I should check them out. I think I checked out Leviathan a long time ago. I saw a guy came into my shop one night and he was wearing a Leviathan shirt, and I couldn't make out what the name was, and he told me, and then he was telling me about him. He said, "Oh, you should check him out." So I did, and I don't think I thought one way or the other about him, but I guess that's something I could revisit. But yeah, it's this one's phenomenal. I mean, this is really, I know I use the word phenomenal a lot, but I would say if I were to recommend this is like a 10 out of 10 for me as far as on a scale. It would get the 5 stank face meter if I had that little stupid thing set up on my videos. But yeah, man, this is great, and it would definitely be something that I would recommend to somebody if they were trying to get into more extreme metal and more underground stuff, particularly on the black metal side. this would be something that I would recommend. This honestly would be something where I'm kind of, I probably should have put it when I did the little metal tag gimmick that I did, and I was talking about bands that I just kind of connected with that I had slept on for a long time. I could have very easily used this one because I've heard the name again, never listened to them, and just got the album by happenstance and love it. It's great. I've listened to it countless times already. I've only had it for probably like a month and a half, and I've probably listened to it a solid seven, maybe eight, possibly even nine times. You know, kind of losing track at this point. But yeah, it's great. Bethlehem, Dictius Te Necare. It's on Redstream. If you don't have a copy of it, try to get a hold of it. It's fantastic. I would recommend it highly. And yeah, so that's kind of what I got for you. That was I felt like this deserved a little bit more attention and more attention to detail. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. Let me know what you think. If there's anything that's similar to this that you think I might like, that you would recommend, I'm all ears. Until they go completely dead and or just completely ringing from tinnitus or whatnot from listening to too much heavy metal. And yeah, that's what I got for you. So I hope you enjoyed it. I will probably within the next week or so, I'll be doing more videos. I'll probably do the collection update thing. I'll revise it and take this out of it and mix a couple things around. But I'm going to be doing a live show recap pretty soon. I'm going to go see Nile this weekend on Sunday, which is the 12th. So I'm going to go see them and 6 Feet Under. They got a couple bands open for them that I'm not really familiar with, but I'm going to try and check them out before I go see them to kind of get a general idea what they sound like and how good they are. And yeah, it should be a good time. And then of course, I'll take video and let everyone know what I thought of the show and all that sort of good stuff, happy horse stuff. But yeah, man, hope everyone enjoyed once again. As always, stay sick, stay heavy, stay brutal. Always tuck your chin upon impact, and don't forget to breathe. Have a good one. I'll catch you on the next video. Everyone take it easy. Later.